It's Wednesday, September 25, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. Good evening and thanks for joining us. My name is Samuel Suknaden, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. President to dissolve parliament for elections after talk with GCOM. Norway releases last tranche of US $50 million in forest funds to Guyana. Present impasse is sole responsibility of major political actors, says Analyst. Finance Minister calls on NIS to review long-term sustainability plan. And local activists mount a legal challenge against oil company. Over to you, Whitney.
Thank you, Samuel. Good evening, and let's take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. The FBI was called in to investigate the shooting death of Guyanese woman in New York. Tobago faces an environmental crisis caused by tropical storm. Trump faces impeachment for seeking help to smear Biden's image. And the U.S. Narcotics Department seizes $165 million worth of cocaine. Join me for these details and more in a little while. Here's Kingsley Bryan with sports headlines for today.
Thank you, Whitney. So here's a look at what's happening in sports. Ramdani gains badminton scholarship at a Canadian college. Also, Shakib rejoins the Tridents for their remaining matches. And internationally, Uruguay defeats Fiji in shocking 2019 Rugby World Cup match. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Kingsley. And now for a look at the news. The Ministry of Public Infrastructure is advising the general public to take all necessary precautions during the spring tides period of September 26, 2019 to October 2, 2019. The predicted tide indicates above normal levels for this impending period. The Sea and River Defense Department considers the following areas to be particularly susceptible to possible flooding as a result of storm surges, which may include overtopping or sea and river defense structures. Pomeroon riverbanks, Sanssouci to Sarah and Maria's Pleasure, to Merzor and Wickenham Island, Canefield, Amsterdam, Endeavour, Blenheim, Cane Garden, Leguan Island, Windsor Forest to De William, West Coast Demerara, Perica Market area, and Salem to Sparta East Bank, Essequibo, Water Street, Georgetown, Helena number 1 and 2, Mahaica, Fairfield, Danzig, Maiconi, Wellington Park to Gore, Quarantine. The highest tides are expected to be on Sunday, September 29, 2019 at 16 hours 38 at a height of 3.36 meters, and on Monday, September 30, 2019 at 1700 hours 18 at a height of 3.32 meters. In addition to the captioned locations, all persons residing along the banks of rivers and low-lying coastal areas are advised to take all the necessary precautions against possible flooding. Precautions should be also taken by all mariners, including those operating fishing vessels and larger vessels. The use of beaches and foreshore areas for recreational purposes during this period is not advised. Contact can be made on 225-9868, 226-1070, or 623-1161 for more information. President David Granger has announced his intention not to dissolve Parliament until he meets with GCOM to find out its absolute readiness to hold elections within the time frame that was given. More in this report.
Solution of Parliament will only occur when I'm satisfied that the entire process, as required by the Election Commission, can move without obstruction until the date that the chairman herself has nominated.
That was President David Granger speaking to the media on the sidelines of an event earlier today. The president stated that although he will stick to the February 2020 elections timeline provided by the GCOM head, he will not dissolve Parliament, as he is seeking more information before the move can be made. Granger stated that the letter he received from the chairwoman is one of absolute clarity and certainty on the timeline, but despite this, he still wants more information before he moves forward.
Indicated when the commission would be ready. I responded to her, and I had a discussion with the cabinet yesterday, and naturally we would like to get from her more details. So we've accepted her date, and I hope this evening I'll be able to make a public announcement to the nation on the date.
The head of state disclosed that his government has no interest in going beyond the February 2020 timeline, while at the same time declaring he has not seen the timeline yet, but will meet with the GCOM head to soon discuss the same.
The cabinet has not been privy to the schedule. So there are certain statutory requirements. It's my expectation that in sending me that date, the end of February, they would have taken into consideration all of the requirements, the legal and procedural requirements that have to be met. So I will meet the chairman to find out from her what her timelines are, what her schedules are. But as I said, it's a certainty that we are not interested in going much beyond or beyond the time that she has laid down. And I would like to return to Parliament. I'd like to ensure that she has all of the resources the Commission needs, and that she complies with the requirements of the law, including ensuring that it claims and objections.
The delayed announcement of the election date has garnered concerns from members of the international community who issued several statements calling on the president to name an election date. The coalition head has disregarded these statements.
There's no way I could have named the date. There's no way I could have demitted office before I received that letter on the 19th of September. And I wish people in the international community would understand that.
The president is expected to give an update on elections soon. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
Thanks, Shakima. The Central Islamic Organization of Guyana, CIOG, has now joined the calls urging President David Granger to speedily pronounce on an early date for general and regional elections. The statement, which was signed by CIOG's President Shahabuddin Ahmad, noted that the current constitutional fracture following the passage of September 18, 2019 deadlines attributable to the CCJ's ruling and the consequential orders that followed. As such, in the statement, the organization recognized the urgency for the announcement of an early election date, thus following the convening of regional and general elections. According to the statement, while the CIOG remains an apolitical observer, it is very concerned about the stability of our nation, since the impasse has created somewhat of a constitutional vacuum, a fracture that needs mending immediately. The Islamic organization also further added that, and I quote, "This fracture has a negative resultant effect to the socio-economic well-being of our people." To this end, the statement urged the president to adhere to the ruling of the CCJ and the adherence of the Constitution. In concluding, the CIOG separately offered its support to the Ghana Elections Commission to ensure that elections are conducted expeditiously and in the best interests of maintaining stability in our nation. The recent statements made by President David Granger with regards to not dissolving Parliament came as no surprise to former Attorney General Anil Nandalal, who said that the president has descended to a new low where he continues to display even greater level of dictatorship and authoritarianism. Speaking with Globespan 24x7 News, in an exclusive interview today, Nandlal recalled speaking at a forum last week that was covered by this news agency, where he pointed out that though the chairwoman of GCOM indicated a time frame, the president had repeated he will first have to meet with GCOM before he dissolves Parliament and issues a proclamation naming a date for elections.
I heard it and I saw it. So I am not at all surprised that the president said what he said. What we are witnessing here, Samuel, is a clear and present dictatorship in being. This government is giving all the indications that it will not be bound by the Constitution, by the rule of law, by the norms and practices of democracy, and they are not going to give up the reins of government.
The former Attorney General said the coalition government has already demonstrated to the world that it does not need popular support to stay in power.
No government that depends upon popular support to win an election will behave in the manner that this government is behaving. Blocking off an entire city for no reason, angering hundreds of citizens, calling out the riot squad on peaceful protesters when that is absolutely not necessary, serving notices on 300 rice farmers in one region, informing them that they are going to be removed from the lands that they are occupying, is not the behavior of a government that depends upon popular support to be elected in an elections that are likely to be held, well, we don't know when.
Asked to comment on the president's statement where he said he will have to verify whether GCOM has enough finances for the conduct of elections next year, the opposition MP noted that that was not expressed in the letter sent to the president by the GCOM chairwoman, Claudette Singh, when a time frame was given.
So all of that is simply an excuse to keep Parliament open. Because if they shut down the Parliament, then you have a country where the executive is illegal and there is no Parliament either, there is no legislature. So two branches of the government are non-functional. But the truth of the matter is that the Parliament is indeed non-functional and the parliamentary life has expired. The parliamentary life could only have been extended beyond the 3 months after the passage of the no confidence motion by a motion moved and supported by 2/3 within the 3 months period. So the executive life has expired and parliament life has expired. So any resort to parliament is going to be unconstitutional and is going to be a nullity because you don't have a functional, valid parliament.
Further, Nandala said President David Granger and his government will have to accept responsibility for any negative outcome from the decisions they have made to delay the holding of elections within the stipulated time that was set based on the successful passage of a no-confidence motion.
Whether there is a naming of an election date or not, Samuel, you have a country for the first time on planet Earth where the government is illegal. So you cannot have business as usual. You cannot have peace unless there is law and order. You cannot have law and order where the government of the day is unlawful and unconstitutional. So over the next few months, we are going to have a society of turmoil. We are going to have a society of chaos. We're going to have a society that is not normal. And the government must accept full responsibility for the situation that they have brought about upon the people of this country, simply because of their rapacious hunger for power.
Meanwhile, political commentator and WPA executive Dr. David Hines expressed that should the opposition reject the government's proposal to reconvene Parliament, there are other measures that can be enacted by government to ensure GCOM is aptly provided for in the conduct of their duties.
It would mean that we will have to reconvene Parliament and get the funds to GCOM. Of course, the government can do that with its simple majority. So there'll be no problem there. They would just have to go back to Parliament and get the money for GCOM.
That was Dr. Hines' point of view during an exclusive interview with Globespan 24x7 News, following the president's announcement that further deliberations will have to be held with the GCOM chair before pronouncing on an actual elections date. Hines added that while that may be an alternative, the political optics wouldn't look good without due participation from the political opposition. President Granger had earlier insisted that a certificate of absolute readiness was needed from the Elections Commission before he proceeded to name a date for elections. There is some controversy in this regard since the law stipulates that the proclamation of an elections date should be synonymous with the dissolution of Parliament. When questioned on the issue, Dr. Hines didn't fully support that notion.
Not necessarily. I mean, you can indicate that there will be an election date without dissolving Parliament immediately. I mean, the president, the Speaker said that elections can be held and by the end of February. The president can say, I am going to name a date sometime in March without officially naming the date. Now, once you officially name a date, you have to move to dissolve Parliament. So the president is correct in saying that let me talk to the chair of GCOM, find out whether she needs anything more before I dissolve Parliament. Because once I name an election date, then that's it. Parliament will have to be dissolved. You can't go and ask for money. So the president is correct. What more do you need? Tell me so that I can go to Parliament, get to you what you need, and then I call a date and dissolve Parliament.
Dr. Hines opined it may have been a careful move by the president. Another issue on the front burner would be the president's request for another meeting with GCOM after being already provided with a timeline. Dr. Hines expressed this may be a form of politicking.
I think what we are seeing here is politicking. I think what we are seeing here from the president is he said, look, I'm the president, and I will decide when I will call this election. So we are seeing, if you will, some political back and forth here. I think that's what we're seeing.
Hines posited that Guyana will go to the polls in or around the end of February, since there is no way that any wise government would want to prolong it further. He maintained that there is no constitutional crisis, but rather Guyana is fast approaching what he described as a political crisis.
I think the narrative in the middle is that we have a political impasse that could become a political crisis if we don't move on quickly with the elections. The political impasse, I think, is whereby the government and the opposition sides are fighting an election before the election date is called.
He said both sides have selfishly switched into full campaign mode without first agreeing on a date for the elections. To this end, Hines further noted that the blame has to be equally shared by both actors in the play.
I think the responsibility for where we are has to be shared by both political parties. The government has to take responsibility because it is the government, and they'll have to say, look, we are the ones who are in charge, and we are the ones who are steering the ship. And if we've gotten to this point, we have got to take our responsibility. But the PPP has to take its share of the responsibility for engaging in a kind of hardline politics that works against consensus.
The political commentator maintains the lack of consensus has resulted in the present impasse. He stressed both parties will use the systems available to them to suit their circumstances. And in other news, a 55-year-old motorcyclist met his demise this morning after he was struck down by a minibus at the Somerset and Berks Public Road on the Essex coast in Region 2. The now dead man has been identified as Brigandand Rupi, a carpenter of David James Access Road. He was reportedly riding a motorcycle at the time of the incident, which is said to have occurred at approximately 7 hours 30 in the vicinity of the Somerset and Berks nursery schools. Reports indicate that the man was just returning from the Surrey hospital after a visit to his first grandchild when tragedy struck. Rupi was rushed to the Oscar Joseph Hospital in Charity in an unconscious state. He was, however, transferred to the Surrey Public Hospital for further medical attention due to the severity of his injuries. It was while en route to the Surrey Hospital that the motorcyclist succumbed to his injuries. Police have since revealed that the driver of the minibus remains in custody at the Charity Police Station, assisting with investigations. President David Granger joined with the Mexican ambassador and others from the Mexican embassy to celebrate the 209th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of Mexico in a lavish ceremony at the Guyana Marriott Hotel last evening. We'll tell you more in this report.
Guyana's head of state, David Granger, on Tuesday evening joined the Mexican ambassador to Guyana, Jose Omar Hurtado Contreras, in celebration of 209th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of Mexico. At the ceremony, President Granger highlighted that Guyana and Mexico remain committed, as states of the Greater Caribbean, to work together to preserve the hemisphere as a zone of peace.
Guyana and Mexico are committed also to mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs. And to mutual respect to each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty.
The President stressed that these are essential elements of respectful international relations and the foundation for the maintenance of regional peace and security. He further went on to highlight that Guyana is open to exploring export avenues for traditional and non-traditional products in order to strengthen initiatives aimed at increasing bilateral trade.
Guyana looks forward to friendly regional states, such as Mexico, for cooperation as it establishes the regulatory framework to govern the emerging petroleum sector. The three memoranda of understanding concluded on the 15th of March 2017 with the Mexican Institute of Petroleum will assist in building much needed capacity in the petroleum sector.
Meanwhile, Mexican ambassador to Guyana, Jose Omar Hurtado Contreras, delivering his first public address, promised to work towards further strengthening the bonds between the two countries to foster further development.
In keeping with the instruction of the President of Mexico, Manuel López Obrador, I will not only continue the bilateral cooperation, but also intensify it. Moreover, the bilateral economic relations present great opportunities, especially for Mexican investment.
The Mexican ambassador to Guyana was only accredited to Guyana 1 week ago. For Globespan 24x7 News, this is Kingsley Bryan.
Thanks, Kingsley. Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest news in Guyana, the Caribbean, and around the world. Join us after these messages for more news with Shakima Day.
We would like to ask all of our faithful viewers to kindly like and follow Globespan 24x7 Facebook page and subscribe to Globespan 24x7 YouTube channel to receive up-to-date notifications of when we are live. Globespan 24x7 has vacancies for full-time positions such as reporters, newscasters, and news editors. Persons serious about joining a new and dynamic news team are asked to send their application to careers@globespantechnology.com. TravelSpan is pleased to announce special fares from New York to Guyana for Christmas. Seats are available to travel, and depending on which dates you choose, fares range from $849 to $1169. These are limited block seats on American Airlines non-stop flight from JFK to Guyana. Call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Or book online at travelspan.com. TravelSpan does have a payment plan, so travel plans, call TravelSpan.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. We'll tell you now that the Ministry of Natural Resources today announced that they are pleased with the continuing progress being made between Guyana and the Kingdom of Norway. This announcement comes after the country released US $50 million, the remainder of the Guyana Red Investment Pledge made in 2009. In a press statement, it highlighted that the agreement was met on the margins of the United National Climate Summit in New York between State Minister Dawn Hastings-Williams and Norway's Minister for Climate and Environment, Ola Elvestuen, on Monday. Both ministers agreed that in accordance with the bilateral agreement between the two countries, Guyana has met its commitment and therefore Norway would release the final payments. Minister Elvestuen emphasized that Norway is most impressed with Guyana's continued low deforestation rates over the many years, and also with the substantive progress made on forest governance. She also noted that Guyana showcases what sustainable development in forest-rich countries can be. The Minister of Natural Resources and the Guyana Forestry Commission also applauded the efforts of all stakeholders who have managed to ensure that Guyana's forests are being preserved and developed sustainably for generations to come. The disbursement of the monies will be made to the Guyana Red Investment Fund administered by the World Bank. In light of the mountain's criticisms against the actual production sharing agreement that was entered into with ExxonMobil and Guyana, where persons are calling for the need for judicial review of the said contract, political activist Ramon Gaskin has signaled his intention to take this fight to the court. Note, the Natural Resources Minister Raffle Trotman said that Guyana has no legal case to challenge the production sharing agreement between its government and ExxonMobil affiliate, Esso Exploration and Production Guyana Limited, and partners, CNOOC, Nexen, and Hess.
Political activist and social commentator Raymond Gaskin says that the production sharing agreement that was entered into with ExxonMobil's subsidiary, Esso Exploration Production Guyana Limited, is contrary to the Petroleum Act. To this end, Gaskin said legal proceeding challenges to the contract will begin shortly.
For example, the Petroleum Act could only get 60 blocks, and ExxonMobil gets 600. So we take that to the judge and let her look at it.
Okay,
so all the things we're talking about is not consonant to the law.
Okay, so in a few weeks' time, we can expect this case coming up.
In a few weeks' time, we will file.
Gaskin said he doesn't want to pronounce too much on the matter now, but will allow his lawyers to complete their action for a submission to the Supreme Court. But the learned economist highlighted one of the major irregularities with the signed contract.
For example, the Petroleum Act could only get 60 blocks, and ExxonMobil gets 600. So we take that to the judge and let her look at it.
According to the Petroleum Act, a license should hold a maximum of 60 blocks. But the license in question grants the oil company and its partners approximately 6 times what is prescribed by law. Gaskin said his intention is to place the contract under judicial review, and that is to ensure Guyana gets a fair deal. Many experts in their field and other pundits have voiced concerns that the deal Guyana got seals no real benefit for the Guyanese people. Gaskin said certain tweaks are being worked out, and then the challenge shall be made public.
In a few weeks' time, we will file, you'll get all the details. All the details will be public.
While many have criticized the deal, indicating that Guyana could have negotiated a better one, Gaskin's challenge amounts to one of the very first cases of litigation brought against the signatories of the oil contract. For Globespan 24x7 News, this is Kingsley Bryan.
Thank you, Kingsley. Police have arrested 7 men, including a licensed firearm holder, following an intelligence-led operation carried out at a showroom on Church Street, South Commingsburg, Georgetown. According to reports, the police discovered a .45 submachine gun with the serial numbers filed off with 3 magazines. They also seized 1 silencer, along with 120 live rounds of .45 ammunition and 1 AK-47 magazine. Investigations are ongoing. President David Granger earlier today received letters of credence from the first High Commissioner of the Kingdom of Lesotho. During the ceremony, the head of state committed to building upon the long-standing relationship with both countries. More in this report. The accreditation ceremony was held earlier today at the Ministry of the Presidency in the presence of Natural Resources Minister Raffle Trotman. The President relayed that Guyana and Lesotho have enjoyed cordial relations since the 2 countries established diplomatic relations 40 years ago on August 25, 1979.
Our relations are founded on mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs, cooperation for mutual benefit, respect for treaties and international law, and the maintenance of regional peace and security. Excellency, Guyana is keen on discussing and developing ways in which we could improve relations between our two countries, especially in the field of trade, investment, agriculture, and energy. And Lesotho became independent in 1966. We have worked to develop our countries and to improve the lives of our people.
The president further stated that both countries share common views and are consistent advocates on various global issues, such as maintaining international peace and security and adapting to the threat of climate change.
Extensive Guyana is in transition towards the establishment of a green state. A state that will see more emphasis being placed on the protection of our environment, the preservation of our biodiversity, the promotion of renewable energy, and the adoption of practical measures to ensure climate adaptation. Guyana's green state will allow us to respond more effectively to the challenges posed by climate change. Climate change represents a threat to both our countries, to the economies, and to the environment.
Meanwhile, High Commissioner of Lesotho Raleigh-Shat Lincoln McCoast delivered well wishes on behalf of His Majesty King Lassie III. He expressed his interest in fostering bilateral cooperation between Guyana and Lesotho.
Should span a wide range of areas, including but not limited to water, environment, education, agriculture, energy, trade and investment, transport and tourism.
Lesotho, officially the Kingdom of Lesotho, is an enclaved country within the border of South Africa. It is one of the only 3 independent states completely surrounded by the territory of another country, and the only one outside of the Italian peninsula. Lesotho has a population of around 2 million. Its capital and largest city is Maseru. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day. As the National Insurance Scheme celebrated its Jubilee anniversary last evening, Finance Minister Winston Jordan called on the agency to review their sustainability plan. Jordan said he is cognizant of the challenges that NIS faces to maintain financial stability. This, he said, was revealed in the 2016 International Monetary Fund report conducted on social security schemes in the Caribbean. Several recommendations were made in that report. An aging population, slow economic growth, and high unemployment were major contributors to the actual deficit that social security schemes face in the Caribbean. Open quote, I am not suggesting all the reform measures proposed by the IMF study are suitable for our country. However, I enjoin the Board of Directors and Management to urgently review the scheme's sustainability plan and come up with country-specific solutions to address these challenges. End quote, he said. This, according to the finance minister, will help the scheme to offset the billions lost due to a reckless colonial life insurance company investment in the past. The finance minister also noted that the NIS 50 years of service to Guyanese citizens is indeed a significant milestone worth celebrating symbolically. He said over the years the agency has evolved and continues to develop to serve the citizens of Guyana, underscoring the fact that access to social services is pivotal. If you have any news story to share, don't hesitate to contact us on our Guyana WhatsApp number at 592-640-7615. Now we'll take a look at our bridge reports. We'll now take a short commercial break and be right back with more news.
Amro's Travel Service is pleased to support Globespan 24x7 broadcasts. We provide travel solutions via our 4 locations in Trinidad. Chabonas at 665-3383, Valpa 645-1604, Port of Spain 625-0800, and San Fernando at 652-4789. Remember, when you travel, Amro's is the way to go.
Welcome back. We will now join Whitney Prasad at her studio in New York for regional and international news.
Thank you, Shakima. Let's take a look at news and details for today. In the region, police in Orange County, New York are looking for two men who they say may be responsible for the death of Chelsea Debedin, a 21-year-old Guyanese woman. According to reports, the woman, who is a recent college graduate, was at the time visiting her boyfriend at his family's apartment. Police said the victim's boyfriend was also shot. He's hospitalized and is expected to recover. New Windsor Police Chief Michael Farbent said that armed men kicked in the front door of the apartment building and opened fire on residents. The reason is still unknown. He said that the local police are working along with the Federal Bureau of Investigations as well as the state police in search of the perpetrators. Taking a look at what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago, residents at the southwestern tip of Tobago have been badly affected by severe flooding caused by Tropical Storm Karen. The storm hit the island on September 21st, and it has only worsened since. The Tobago Emergency Management Agency, TEMA, said in a statement that residents have reported blown-off roofs, fallen trees, and utility poles in the roadway, flooding, strong winds, and damage to residential and commercial properties. Strong winds downed trees and power lines, blocking the roads and causing power and telecommunication outages, and all schools have been closed. 9 shelters were set up to house families displaced by the severe weather. Several boats were damaged in the rough areas in Plymouth, where a jetty was destroyed. Storm surge and high waves also caused coastal flooding, damaging some buildings in the area. The worst of the flooding was seen in Scarborough, where at least one house was destroyed, and along the coast in lowlands, where several people were trapped in their homes. And now turning our attention to news on the international scene. The Donald Trump administration has released details of a phone conversation in July that has triggered a U.S. impeachment inquiry against the president. According to the notes, Donald Trump asked the Ukrainian leader to investigate corruption claims involving the son of Joe Biden, Trump's possible rival in next year's presidential election. The official account of a half-hour July call heard a surprising exchange of requests and pledges, including some unrelated to Biden, such as when Trump asked President Volodymyr Zelensky to do us a favor involving a controversy arriving from the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign. The summary was released the day after House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi said the Democratic-led chamber was launching an official impeachment inquiry, setting up a dramatic political showdown that threatens Trump's presidency as he campaigns for re-election in 2020. In July, Trump froze military aid to Ukraine, but he has insisted that this was not used to put pressure on the new government in Kyiv. Under the U.S. Constitution, a president can be impeached for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors, a procedure that can lead to removal from office. No evidence has come to light so far of wrongdoings by the Bidens. And a narco sub carrying 12,000 pounds of cocaine worth more than $165 million has been seized by the U.S. Coast Guard, according to the authorities. The 40-foot-long vessel was heading towards the U.S. earlier this month when it was stopped in the Pacific Ocean. Crew members aboard the cutter Valiant intercepted the drug-laden self-propelled semi-submersible during a routine patrol in the international waters. They apprehended 4 suspected drug smugglers on board. The submarine was originally detected by Maritime Patrol aircraft before the Valiant crew was sent to be intercepted by the Joint Interagency Task Force South. The team arrived after sunset and was successful by early morning with the help of the Colombian Navy. Turning our attention to news in Canada. Canada's Jagmeet Singh, facing a retreat of his left-wing New Democrats in next month's election, may have revived his party's fortune with his emotional response to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's blackface picture. Singh Forte, the first minority leader of federal Canadian political party, is also running in his first national campaign as head of the New Democratic Party, NDP. When the photo of Trudeau in blackface emerged last week, Singh, a practicing Sikh, won widespread praises for focusing on the potential impact on people who have experienced racism rather than on scoring points against Trudeau. Canada is a multicultural country, and more than 22% of the population are members of visible minorities, while another 5% are Aboriginal. Looking at news in the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has defended his attempt to suspend Parliament in the critical weeks ahead of Britain's deadline to leave the European Union, accusing lawmakers of sabotaging Brexit talks and saying the Supreme Court was wrong to rule his actions unlawful. On Tuesday, the British Supreme Court ruled unanimously that Mr. Johnson had overstepped by trying to cut short lawmakers' time to challenge his Brexit plans before the deadline on October 31st. He also accused Parliament, where he has lost his majority, of sabotaging the negotiations between his government and the European Union, including by voting against leaving the EU without a deal. And he insisted that leaders on the continent were willing to negotiate a deal with him, despite their assertions to the contrary. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor is now a working royal. At 4 months old, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's baby son has broken records by being the youngest royal ever to go on an official overseas tour. This morning, the Sussexes took their baby to meet human rights activist Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Footage from inside the Sussexes meeting with the Archbishop revealed Meghan telling the Archbishop's daughter Tandika that Archie is an old soul. Baby Archie will remain with Meghan in South Africa for the whole duration of the trip, while Prince Harry leaves them to tour Angola, Malawi, and Botswana. And finally, for news on the international scene, the International Monetary Fund has been predicting India to grow solidly above 7% for the foreseeable future. Despite some recent weaknesses, the IMF said India is very well positioned to continue its impressive growth. Several recent measures to boost the country's economy point to a political willingness to support India's growth. After an unprecedented rate cut, India's government, in a big boost to India Inc., just announced corporate tax cuts of 8% to 15%. On September 20th, the Finance Minister of India announced an unprecedented cut in corporate taxes, bringing them down to 35% to 25% in most cases, and from 30% to 22% in some cases, with approximate total tax revenue of around $100 billion. That's a drop in government revenue of about $20.5 billion. And that's all for news in the region and around the world. I'm Whitney Prasad reporting from Queens, New York. Back to Samuel in Guyana with more news for today.
Thanks, Whitney. We'll now shift our attention to what's happening in the world of sport with Kingsley Bryan.
Thanks, Samuel. And now for a look at what's happening in the sporting arena. Ramdani gains badminton scholarship at Canadian College. The Guyana Badminton Association in a statement has congratulated star badminton player Priya Ramdani after she gained a badminton scholarship at Olds College in Alberta, Canada, and will represent her college badminton team, the Broncos. Priya, who is currently the country's national and Caribbean champion, will be studying for a diploma in business and sports management. The release stated that the association was quite pleased that this opportunity came at a time when Priyana can develop her game further and is only heading in one direction, which is playing in the Olympics, which we know with all her great performances that her ambition will one day materialize. Ramdani was recently crowned triple champion at the Kiribati International Open Championships held in Barbados. The statement added that the head coach of Broncos, Mary Smith, who drafted Ramdani, said, Priyan is a force on the courts, winning a triple crown at the Caribbean Games this past year and ranked #1 in Guyana. The statement concluded that the young sportswoman also has her eyes set on the Olympics and that the college would help her to achieve her dream. Olds College Broncos badminton team noted that it is thrilled to have Priyana join the team this season. And now to CPL news. Shakib rejoins the Tridents for their remaining matches. The Barbados Tridents have announced that Bangladesh all-rounder Shakib Al-Hassan will be replacing Sandeep Lalmichain, who will be leaving for national duty. Shakib will join the team ahead of their match against St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots at the Kensington Oval on Saturday, September 28. Shakib had played in the Hero CPL before, representing both the Tridents and the Jamaica Tallawahs. When at the Trident, he recorded the best ever bowling return in Hero CPL's history, when he took 6 for 6 against the Trinbago Knight Riders. Shakib has played 57 test matches, 206 ODIs, and 75 T20 internationals for Bangladesh, and was in outstanding form during the summer's ICC Cricket World Cup, where he scored 606 runs at a phenomenal average of 86.57. Combined with his ability as a white ball bowler, Shakib will be a huge asset for the Tridents as they push for a spot in the Hero CPL knockout stages for the first time since 2016. The Tridents have also announced that Dan Christian will no longer be available for this year's tournament. He will be replaced by English left-arm pacer Harry Goyne, who has played 10 ODIs and 2 T20 internationals for his country. And still in CPL news, the Zouks recorded another brilliant CPL victory, this time over the Patriots. The St. Lucia Zouks jumped from last place in the 2019 Hero CPL table to a playoff spot with a fine 20-run victory over St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots at the Darren Sammy Cricket Ground. The win lifts the Zouks to 5 points and above both Jamaica Talawas and Barbados Tridents into 4th place. While for their part, the Patriots remain on 8 points, having missed a chance to go second in the table and also guarantee a top 4 finish. While there was a good start and decent finish with the bat, the Zouks' win owed much to a fine all-round bowling performance that allowed them to defend a total of 165 off 6 that felt no better than par at the halfway stage. The highlights of the match included the fall of the wickets of the Patriots' 2 power opening batsmen, Evan Lewis and Devon Thomas, in the power play. Hardus Viljoen getting Lewis well caught by Chris Barnwell off a skeet pull shot in a rare T20 wicket maiden, before some tight bowling kept a firm lid on the scoring rate, even as Laurie Evans and Mohamed Hafiz were adding 49 for their 3rd wicket. The Zouks seemed well on their way to victory when rain forced a short delay with the Patriots at 77 for 2 in the 12th over, but really hammered home the advantage after that. After having early failed to fully capitalize on a fine power play with the bat, in the ending, needing a 56-run partnership between Sammy and Barnwell for the 6th wicket to lift them to 165 for 6, having been 72 for 1 after 7 overs, with Andre Fletcher and Colin Ingram looking good for a huge total. Joseph was impressive at the top and tail of the innings, bowling Rakeem Cornwall, just as the big man was cutting loose, and then having Sammy caught for a crucial and cool-headed 30 by Evans late on. Those wickets came at a cost of just 20 runs. Barnwell, on the other hand, finished unbeaten on 27 from 23 balls, having helped Sammy deliver the Zouks to victory. And internationally, Uruguay defeats Fiji in shocking 2019 Rugby World Cup match. The 2019 Rugby World Cup delivered its first major shock as Minnows, Uruguay, held on for a historic 30-27 victory over Fiji. Uruguay had not won a World Cup match since beating Georgia back in 2003, and tears flowed after the referee blew the final whistle, sparking huge celebrations from the winning camp. Needless to say, no one had expected this result. The last time these two teams faced each other, Fiji stormed to a comfortable 68-7 victory. But it was a different story in the Kaimashi Recovery Memorial Stadium, a venue built in memory of those killed in the 2011 tsunami. It was the biggest score Uruguay ever recorded in a World Cup game, and it was well worthy of the win against the Fiji side, who failed to impress. The game started at a hurtling pace, with both sides registering an early try. But it was Uruguay that emerged as a surprise 24-12 leaders at halftime. There was an expectation that Fiji would regroup during the break and come out firing, but the onslaught never arrived. Uruguay has won soccer's World Cup twice, but the country has a small pool of rugby talent to choose from, with approximately 6,000 active players, a number which includes children. On Tuesday, some odd makers had priced Uruguay at 50-1 to win against Fiji. This was Fiji's second game of the tournament, after defeat by Australia on Saturday, and the 3 days rest between matches perhaps contributed to the lackluster performance. The side that many had tipped to cause an upset at Japan 2019 is now on the brink of elimination, with a path to the quarterfinals now looking very unlikely. And that is all for sporting news. Join us tomorrow as we bring you more for what's happening in the sporting arena. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Kingsley. We have just received some breaking news that President David Granger has announced March 2, 2020 as the next election date. We will provide coverage for this in a subsequent newscast. Do remember to join us on our Facebook page. Remember to like us for the full statement from the President. Before we go, here's a recap of our major headlines. Norway releases last tranche of US $50 million in forest funds to Guyana. Present impasse is sole responsibility of major political actors as Analyst. Finance Minister calls on NIS to review long-term sustainability plan, and local activists to mount legal challenge against oil company. Thanks for watching Globespan 24/7 News. On behalf of myself, the news and technical team, until next time, do have a pleasant rest of the evening.